Education Study Program, School of Postgraduate Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Welcome to Sport Education Study Program, School of Postgraduate Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia.
the Honorable Vice Rector for Research, Community Service and Partnership, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Professor Dr. Agustia Budi MSI, the Honorable Vice Dean for Resources and Partnership, School of Postgraduate Studies, Dr. Tina Hayati Dahlan MPD, the Honorable Chair of the Conference, Professor Dr. Yudi Hendrayana MKes IFO, the Honorable Speakers, the Honorable Staffs, Organizing Committee, and all participants. A very good afternoon to you all, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 10 ICSDP 2025. Praise be to God Almighty, because of His blessing, we all can gather in this occasion in a good health. Dear ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our agenda, please allow me to read the schedule for today. Singing National Anthem, report, welcoming speech and opening, presentation of keynote speakers, announcement, and closing. Dear ladies and gentlemen, now we will have our first agenda, Singing National Anthem. All rise. Be seated. Dear ladies and gentlemen, now we will have report from the chairman, Professor Dr. Yudi Hendrayana MKes IFO. To Professor Hendrayana, the time is yours.
Good afternoon. It is with profound gratitude and heartfelt joy that I welcome you to the 10th International Conference of Sport for Development and Peace 2025. As the chair of the organization committee, I am deeply honored to stand before you at this meaningful gathering, a space where ideas meet purpose and where our shared commitment to shaping a better future through sport find its true expression. Allow me also to extend my warmest greeting to Professor Dr. Agustia Budi MSI, Vice Rector for Research, Community Service and Partnership, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. And to Dr. Tina Hayati Dahlan, MPD Psikolog, Vice Dean for Research and Partnership, School of Postgraduate Study, as well as to all participants and the entire committee of this conference. This conference marked an important moment for us to reaffirm our shared belief that quality education can be advanced through meaningful physical education and sport, an approach that not only nurture physical competence, but also cultivates character, resilience, and lifelong value. This year, we embrace a theme that resonates powerfully with global education aspiration, advancing quality education through meaningful physical education and sport from policy to implementation. This theme invites us to reflect, to rethink, and to reimagine how physical education and sport can become transformative force, not only in developing physical capable learners, but also individual of character, empathy, resilience, and global citizenship. It reminds us that policy alone are not enough. They must be brought to life through thoughtful practice, dedicated leadership, and collaborative innovation. I am pleased to share that this conference is attended by 65 participants from various institutions in Indonesia and China. Your presence demonstrates our shared commitment to advancing education, peace, and human development through sport. We are also honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Sam Tinaj, PhD, The Hague University of Applied Science, Netherlands, Dr. Muhammad Firdaus bin Ahmad, University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, Dr. Agus Mahendra MA, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, from Dr. Ali Maksum, MSI, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Indonesia. Today, as we gather from diverse countries, culture, and discipline, we bring with us a shared belief that sport is not merely movement, but a language of peace, not merely competition, but the pathway to inclusion, and not merely activity, but a vehicle for meaningful, holistic education. May this conference be a catalyst for new insight, a bright connecting policy and practice, and a spark that ignites impactful collaboration across nation. I hope the conversation we begin here will grow into action that shape a brighter and more equitable future for learners around the world. With a great respect and warm appreciation, I welcome you all. May this conference inspire, enlighten, and empower us in the day ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Hendrayana, for the report. And dear ladies and gentlemen, now we will have welcoming speech from the Vice Dean for Resources and Partnership of School of Postgraduate Studies, Dr. Tina Hayati Dahlan, MPD Psycholog. To Dr. Dahlan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miss Wulandari. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Rector Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, represented here by the Vice Rector for Research, Community Service, and Partnership, Professor Dr. Agus Budi MSc, the Honorable Head of the Sport Education Study Program, and keynote speakers, Mr. Cem Tinaz, PhD, from the Hague University of Applied Sciences, Netherlands, Dr. Muhammad Firdaus bin Ahmad, from University Teknologi Mara, Malaysia, Dr. Agus Mahendra MA, Indonesian University of Education, Indonesia, Professor Dr. Ali Maksum, MSI, Surabaya State University, Indonesia invited guests, academic researchers, practitioners, and all participants of this international seminar. First of all, let us express our gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His abundant grace and blessings, allowing us to attend this international seminar with the theme Advancing Quality Education through Meaningful Physical Education and Sport, from Policy to Implementation. On behalf of the School of Postgraduate Studies, allow me to welcome all participants, especially the speakers and guests from abroad who have graciously attended this scientific forum. We view this international seminar as a strategic platform for exchanging ideas, sharing the latest research findings, and synergizing various scientific perspectives to address global challenges in the field of physical education and sport. Through open and constructive academic dialogue, we hope this activity will stimulate the strengthening of research, increase academic capacity, and generate innovative ideas relevant to the scientific community and practitioners. We also express our deepest appreciation and gratitude to Professor Dr. Yudi Hendrayana and the organizing committee and all parties who have worked hard to ensure the success of this event. Your dedication and professionalism in organizing this event are key to the success of today's seminar. Hopefully, the entire series of activities can run smoothly and provide broad benefits for the development of science and academic development in the future. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Dahlan, for the warm welcome. And dear ladies and gentlemen, now we will have welcoming speech and opening from Vice Rector of Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Professor Dr. Agus Setiabudi, MSI. To Professor Setiabudi, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm pleased to firstly greet the respected keynote speakers, Dr. Kem Tinaj of the Hague University of Applied Sciences, or Hogeschool The Hague, the Netherlands. If you join from the Netherlands, very good early morning for you. So I can imagine how the situations in the Netherlands at this moment, early morning and very cold, I suppose. So thank you for joining this seminar. Also, good afternoon to Dr. Muhammad Firdaus bin Ahmad of University Technology Mara from Malaysia, our college, Dr. Agus Mahendra from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Dr. Ali Maksum from Surabaya State University, also in Indonesia. I would also to greet the Honorable Dean of the Graduate School, Vice Deans, heads of the program within the graduate schools, faculties of the Indonesian University of Education. Invited guests, academics, researchers, students, and all participants of these international seminars. It is a great pleasure for me to represent Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia at this opening program of the 10th International Conference on Sport Development and Peace, with the theme Advancing Quality Education through Meaningful Physical Education and Sport, from Policy to Implementation. On behalf of the university, I express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to the speakers and participants from various countries, as I mentioned before. Your presence is an honor for us and demonstrates our shared commitment to strengthening academic network, expanding research collaborations, and promoting scientific advancements at the global level. These international seminars is pretty much relevant with UP missions at this moment, which are to improve quality education, boost innovation, and to have a lot of impactful activities from either from learning and research towards an impactful university has now become a trend in the world and also become the target of Indonesian governments. These seminars plays a strategic role in encouraging the exchange of ideas, of course, research finding, and academic innovations, as I mentioned, and also relevant to the developments of physical education and sport. Through this scientific forum, I hope to we all generate new ideas, policy recommendations, and concrete collaborations among participants, among university of the who participated in these seminars. Those will have a positive impact on the scientific community, educational institution, and of course, professional world. We also extend our thanks and appreciation to the graduate show and the entire organizing committee for their dedicated work, ensuring this successful implementations of this event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, by this, the 10th International Conference on Sport, Development, and Peace officially open. I wish you all have a fruitful discussion and beneficial for the developments of science and the strengthening of international collaborations in the future. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor Setiabudi, for officially opening this conference. And dear ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the main agenda of the day, the presentation of keynote speakers. This session will be led by our excellent moderator, Cep Ubad Abdullah MPD. He is a lecturer and researcher at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia and is currently pursuing his PhD degree at University of Sydney. To Bapak Cep Ubad Abdullah MPD, you may lead the session.
Well, thank you so much, Ibu Wulan, as the MC for today's conference, for such a kind introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very good late afternoon from Sydney, Australia. A very early morning to especially Professor Cem Tinaz, who's virtually attending from the Netherlands, and probably a very good morning and evening to those in any sides of the world. My name is Ubad, and it's such a privilege and an honor for me to moderate today's session, which is a part of the 10th International Conference on Sport, Development and Peace. I cannot believe this has been ongoing for the 9 times, and to be able to be a part of this event is such, once again, a privilege and an honor for me. Well, the first presentation would be delivered by Professor Dr. Ali Maksum. Before I invite him to give the talk, allow me to briefly introduce him. Professor Dr. Ali Maksum is a distinguished scholar in sports psychology and physical education. Holding a PhD from the University of Indonesia with expertise in the personality traits of high-performing athletes, he is a senior lecturer at Universitas Negeri Surabaya and has served in several national leadership roles, including Chairman of the National Commission for Physical Education and Sport of Indonesia and Expert Coordinator for the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Republic of Indonesia. Professor Ali has contributed extensively to national sports policy, including drafting Indonesia's sports law. Internationally, he has represented Indonesia in numerous global initiatives across Malaysia, China, Italy, South Korea, the United States, and Australia, fostering academic partnerships in sport education and development. He's also an international affiliate of the American Psychological Association and the Society for Sport, Exercise, and Performance Psychology. Today's talk would be entitled Enhancing the Quality of Physical Education Teachers in Indonesia, from pre-service to practice. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's give the biggest welcome to Professor Ali Maksum. Hello, Professor Ali, how are you?
Fine, Mas Ubed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. So you will have 1 hour, which consists of both the presentation and Q&A. So it's It's actually 45 minutes of the presentation and 15 minutes of the question and answer session. Professor Ali, please, the floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you very much for Mas Ubed for the nice introduction. And first of all, good afternoon for everyone. Thank you very much for having me. It is second time I involved in international conference on sport for development and peace, gitu ya. And I think it is a very special moment for me, gitu ya. Yesterday we celebrate Teacher Days for Indonesian teacher, including physical education teacher. Special day for appreciation for all of teacher in Indonesia. And now we are going to discuss about quality of education, quality of physical education, and quality of physical education teacher. I think it is a very interesting topic in current situation because now education in Indonesia is not satisfaction. Okay, maybe can you help me about my slide, please, my presentation. Okay, thank you. Okay, now I would like to discuss about enhancing the quality of physical education teacher in Indonesia from pre-service to practice. Today, I want to talk about our research in physical education teacher. In Indonesia, we have done research from Papua to Aceh about physical education teacher. We have 1,200 participants. I think it is a very significant research in Indonesia about physical education teacher. Physical education is part of the problem in our education because education itself is one of the important factor in Indonesia, especially for the 2045 Golden Indonesian Vision. Maybe you have now Indonesia have dream in 2045 how Indonesia to develop in country as a developed country. We have 30,000 income per capita. Okay, and we have welfare state, we have prosperity in this time, and I think it is a great vision of Indonesia. Now, in line with Golden Indonesian Vision in 2045, education and health are crucial factor. Why? Because human resources is a very important factor in this context. Education and health, once again, is very crucial factor in this context. Unfortunately, in this matter, Indonesia is not satisfaction. The indicator of human resources in Indonesia, like state by national planning of National Board of Planning, Bappenas, to have two indicators. Number one is PISA, Program for International Student Assessment, and number two is Human Capital Index. Yeah. Unfortunately, PISA and Human Capital Index of Indonesia is very low. In Asian countries, Indonesia is number 6. Number 1 is Singapore. Number 2 is Vietnam. Number 3 is Brunei Darussalam, and then Malaysia. Number 5, Thailand, and number 6 is Indonesia. Yeah. And the same time, in Human Capital Index, Indonesia is number 6 in Southeast countries. So the question is, what the relationship between physical education, and education and health? I think it's a very, very important thing, because physical education is part of health. Physical education is part of education. So I think physical education is very, very important factor in terms of human resources development. In line with this problem, I think physical education teacher is very dominant factor. Why? Because physical education teacher provide fundamental knowledge and skill and also attitude for student in terms of physical fitness, in terms of sport activities, in terms of healthy lifestyle. So once again, I think it is important strategy to develop of human resources in Indonesia. Next. Okay, now we have the data about the professionalism of physical education teacher in Indonesia. Among 4 factors to determine of professionalism, knowledge factor and skill factor is very low. Whereas knowledge and skill is very important for teacher, including physical education teacher, because knowledge and skill is crucial factor for competency of physical educator. But in the data, relatively low compared with other factor, for example, values and autonomy. I think it's a worry condition, I think, because once again, knowledge and skill is very, very important competency for physical educator. Next. Now we have compare about the study program for physical education teacher. In Indonesia, we have 4 department. Number 1 is PJOK, jadi physical education teacher, especially. Number 2, PKO is coaching department. And then IKOR is sport science department. And PGSD is physical education teacher for elementary school. And then I try to compare about the professionalism based on the study program. Unfortunately, no differences. Once again, no differences between study program in terms of professionalism, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skill, in terms of values, in terms of autonomy. Yeah. Okay, next time. Next slide. Okay. Yes. It is the result of the research based on status of teacher, teacher status. In Indonesia, we have 4 teacher status. Number 1 is government teacher, jadi like civil servant, PNS, and then contract teacher, P3K. Number 3, volunteer teacher, and number 4, private teacher. Gitu. Based on the data, we can see on this data, volunteer teacher is highest and professionalism. Yeah. I don't know what the problem in this case is, but I convinced that it is about the fresh graduate, gitu ya. Volunteer teacher generally is fresh graduate, gitu ya. That maybe they have fresh knowledge, fresh skill, fresh attitude, and then I think it is one of the reason why volunteer teacher is very high in professionalism. And unfortunately, the government teacher and contract teacher is relatively low compared to volunteer teacher. And then we compare about the professionalism based on certificate status, gitu ya. Yeah. No. Before this. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Based on teacher status on certified teacher, once again, no differences between certified teacher and non-certified teacher in terms of professionalism, gitu ya. I think once again it is a worry condition, I think, because one of the goal of the certified teacher is how to improve quality of teacher in Indonesia. But in fact, it is not achieved by this program. I think it is once again is not satisfaction for this condition. Okay. Next slide. And then we try to analyze the relationship among years on the job, grade position, and professionalism. Gitu. Based on the data, we have seen that professionalism in the first years on the job, maybe first years until 5 years, maybe is okay. Gitu ya. But after the 10 years, declining. Jadi professionalism is declining, gitu. Until the 16 years on the job, gitu. The grow up, gitu ya. I suspect this problem is about burnout, burnout of physical education teacher after 10 years dedication, gitu ya. And this fact also state that near development, absence of professional development for physical education teacher in Indonesia, gitu ya. So I think it's very crucial problem, and we have to improve physical education teacher, especially for in-service training. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, we try to analyze relationship between salary and professionalism. Gitu. We can see the data that no relationship between salary and professionalism. Gitu. Yeah, I think it is once again is not satisfaction condition. I think is because ideally, yeah, salary correlate with professionalism gitu. But in fact, yeah, no correlation between actual salary and professionalism gitu ya. And in this case, I try to analyze to different between actual salary and salary perception gitu. Ya. With regression analysis, the result of the research show that salary perception influence professionalism, yeah. But actual salary not influence on professionalism gitu. Yeah. So the important thing is how physical education teacher perceives, yeah, have perception about the salary, not actual salary only gitu ya. So perception is more important than actual salary in this case gitu ya. Next slide. Okay. We also try to analyze the relations among variable with same. Jadi structural equation model. I try to analyze the relationship between variable. Yeah. Number one is about call of the soul. Call of the soul. Gitu ya. In Indonesia is panggilan jiwa. Gitu. Yeah. Because I think it's very important for teacher profession. Okay. Number two about teacher education. Yeah. Variable teacher experience, and then teacher salary and teacher professionalism. Yeah. Based on the analysis, call of the soul not correlated with teacher salary. Yeah. But call of the soul correlated with teacher professionalism. Yeah. And then teacher education, yeah, teacher education correlated with teacher professionalism. Gitu. Unfortunately, teacher experience not correlated with teacher professionalism. Teacher experience correlate with teacher salary. Gitu. Yeah. I think it's very interesting because I try to analyze in the comprehensive manner. Gitu. Yeah. Teacher professionalism, we have 4 indicator. Number one is about knowledge, and then skill. Number 3, values, and number 4 about autonomy. Okay, next slide. So it is the final model data fit gitu ya. Number one is call of the soul. I think it is very important factor gitu ya. Call of the soul have 2 indicator. Number one is about passion, yeah, passion. Number 2 is meaningfulness gitu. Ya, passion and meaningfulness gitu. Nah, teacher education you have two indicators also. Number one is academic education, and number two is professional education. Gitu. And then student achievement, I have three indicators. Number one is physical fitness, and then motor learning, yeah. And number three is about a character, gitu. Ya. So it is the model data fit to comprise to concise how the variable influence teacher professionalism in Indonesia, ya, especially for physical education teacher, gitu ya. Okay, next. Okay, we come to conclusion, the final presentation. My conclusion is the culture of quality. Once again, the culture of quality at both institutional and individual level is the main reason why the professionalism of physical education teacher in Indonesia is still far from expectation. Therefore, my recommendation, first, the governance of teacher education needs to be comprehensively evaluated from recruitment, educational process, and the quality of graduates. Second, teacher education must be carried out by universities that have integrity, quality, and accountability. Number three, continuous professional development, or CPD, is required for physical education teacher, which will enable them to develop their professionalism in the long term. The last but not least, call of the soul and education, especially in pre-service and in service, or academic education and professional education, are primary variable influencing teacher professionalism. So, teacher development needs to be oriented toward this. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Professor Ali. Professor, thank you so much for conducting such a comprehensive study and sharing the results with us. I have so many things to unpack, but allow me to invite questions from the participants first. So there are actually two modes of questioning, Professor. The first one, if you would like to directly interact with Professor Ali, please click the raise hands button, and then the committee will pin you, and then you can actually directly interact with Professor Ali, or you can actually write the questions on the comment box. So please kindly utilize both the options. Do we have anybody commenting from the participants here? Okay, while we're waiting, Professor, it's such a breakthrough study, especially now that we are celebrating a day ago, right? We celebrated National Teachers Day of Indonesia. And I have like so many things, but what really caught my attention from your study is the first one is the fact that Indonesia, population-wise, is the biggest country in Southeast Asia, right? But then you told us that it's placed number 6 in terms of PISA and the HCI, which is a sad truth, a sad fact. So in terms of like national strategy and policy, what do you think can be done to improve the quality of education in Indonesia so that we will have at least better position in the next years in terms of PISA and HCI? Please, Professor Ali.
Okay, thank you, Mas Subed. I think number one is how to improve national education system. I think this is number one because in Indonesia, education held by many government, many institution, okay?
Yeah.
Like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Religion, Ministry of
Mm.
Social, and so on and so on. So I think it is I think it is a very very poor about the management. You know. In line, it is about the span of control. I think span of control is very low, very weak, because uh, government responsibility actually on ministry department, okay?
Okay.
But in the fact, yeah, very diverse gitu. I think number one. Number two is about the quality of teacher.
Okay.
Quality of teacher is very important thing. Gitu.
Mm.
I think in around the world is quality of teacher is number one, including Singapore, okay, Singapore, Korea, and then America also is quality of teacher is number one. So recruitment of uh, participant, yeah, for teacher is very high standard. Okay, I think it is for crucial factor, Mas Ubed.
Okay. Wow, that is very interesting, and I couldn't agree more with the statement that quality teacher is no excuse. I mean, we have to have like high standards for the recruitment and stuff. But then my next question would be, in a country with such a big population of around 280 million people, how do we make like the same similar standards from the northern to the southern, from the eastern to the western? Because it's not an easy thing, especially because your own study found out that it turns out that money or like salary is not the main indicator of professionalism, right? It doesn't show that those who gain more salary have more professionalism. So what do you think, based on your years and years of researching and professionalism in higher positions in Indonesia?
I think I have no exact answer about your question, but I have hypothesis. But
Okay, what is it? I'm really curious.
yes, in international education, for example, in China, in USA, I think quality standard, standard quality is more important. Yeah, but we have aware that Indonesia is very plural. Okay,
Oh yeah.
but I think standard is more important. Okay, and then they have national standard, and then in local government to try to achieve the standard based on ability, local ability. Okay, yeah, so I think is number one is quality standard. Yeah, it is very important. And then now I stay early that quality of teacher is very important. Okay, on all area of Indonesia. Gitu. Now teacher, the best teacher generally in Jawa, but in
Yeah.
outside of Jawa, it is not certification. We have to improve the quality of teacher. So I think it is very important. Number one is standard, and then quality of teacher is number two.
Wow, thank you, Professor Ali. Yeah, I'm really amazed with the answer, and I have to agree with you. especially despite the fact that Indonesia is very Java centric. You know, like half of the population of Indonesia live in one island, which is called Java, and that speaks something about standardization. So yeah, I couldn't agree more that standardization is undeniable. Last question from me, I promise, while we're waiting for the questions from the participants. From the statistical computations and the data that you showed us, one thing that really caught my attention is that volunteer teachers, they turned out to be the most professional. I know that earlier you said that you didn't like dig deeper on that, but I know that you have like an answer in mind. So would you please be kind to share why do you think volunteer teachers show more professionalism rather than the other groups of teachers, even civil servants?
Okay, I also impressed upon this data gitu, because I don't apa, suspect about this result gitu. I have hypothesis that why the volunteer teacher is highest in professionalism gitu ya. Yeah, because they have fresh graduate, ya, fresh knowledge gitu ya, fresh skill and fresh attitude from the graduate of the university, okay. But another teacher, for example, government teacher, civil servant teacher, PNS teacher, usually in comfort zone, okay, in comfort zone.
Yeah.
So no improve of themselves about how to increase knowledge, how to improve skill. So it is one of the explanation about that.
Okay. Well, Professor Ali, there is one explanation which is also a great warning. First of all, to beginner teachers, I want you to really hold on to your professionalism. And then experienced teacher, please don't get trapped in comfort just because you're a civil servant, just because you think your job is secure, just because you think you've got it. Still, you need to keep improving so that your professionalism doesn't decline as time goes by. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was such a great discussion session. One final opportunity, I would like to invite questions from the participants or probably the committee. Is there any questions or probably comments? Yeah, we actually have one from Balkis, Ibu Balkis, Mbak Balkis, probably. Based on your findings, the ANOVA results show no significant differences in professionalism across graduates of PJOK, PKO, IKOR, and PGSD. Should we interpret this lack of variation as a positive sign of consistent teacher preparation or as a concern suggesting limited differentiation of stagnation across programs? Interesting. And in your view, what key factors might explain why these study programs produce similar levels of professionalism? Oh, such a dilemma there. Professor Ali, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Based on our research, yeah, and this fact is very, very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I hypothesize that physical education department must be better than another department.
Okay.
But in fact, in the same condition. So the question is why it is happen gitu. Yeah. I suspect it is about the preparation of the student, yeah, to achieve the outcome of the learners gitu. Yeah. It also about the process of the teaching, yeah, held by the lecturer gitu. Yeah. Ideally, the physical education department is once again, is better than another
Yeah.
program. Yeah, I think it is a matter of reflection for head of department in sport gitu ya, and faculty of sport science gitu. So I think it is once again it is very interesting, yeah, to search why it is happen gitu. It is the question for everyone, yeah. For example, sport community gitu in apa in UPI, UNESA, also in another institution. Okay, thank you.
Wow, another reminder that there has to be uniqueness of each of the programs. It turns out that they look the same. And we have an assumption that one study program could be leading, but then data, I mean, it's data, right? I mean, we cannot avoid it. Ibu Balkis, do you have any follow-up questions to Professor Ali, or that will be sufficient? Yeah, I think her silence says that it's enough. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's once again give a big round of applause to Professor Ali. Once again, Professor Ali, thank you so much for
Okay,
such
thank
an
you.
inspiring session. I really hope that we have more collaborations between UPI and UNESA. So once again, thank you so much, Professor Ali. It's such an honor for me to moderate your session.
Okay, thank you, Mas Ibet. Have a nice day.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, we just have had a great and fruitful discussion with the first keynote speaker, which is Professor Ali Maksum from UNESA. Now that it has ended, we are moving on to the next plenary session, which will be delivered by Bapak Dr. Agus Mahendra. But first of all, let me check whether he's available here already. Pak Agus, are you here with us already?
Yes, Paubat.
Oh, okay. So good to hear your voice.
Yeah. It's nice to see you again here.
Okay. Well, before we
Let me check.
proceed, is it?
I need to find one of the button here to show my face.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was just me because I couldn't see. Yeah. All right. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting for Pak Agus to figure it out. Oh, there he is. How are you? Are you on campus?
Hi.
Are you at home?
Yes, of course. Because the host not provide us with direct access to campus,
Okay.
then I prefer to be here at home.
Oh, then you should have flown to Sydney here with me together.
It's
Okay.
really my dream right now.
Bagus, it's so good to see you. And I know that you need no introduction, but it's compulsory, it's mandatory for me to introduce you to our participants here. So, ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker, Associate Professor Agus Mahendra MA, is a leading scholar and senior lecturer at physical education at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. He previously served as the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs at FPLK UPI and also head of the PGSD Penja Study Program. With academic training from IKIP Bandung, the University of Iowa, the USA, and Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Pak Agus had made significant national contributions, including roles at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Republic of Indonesia, and the National Sports Standardization and Accreditation Board. Internationally, he chairs Active Healthy Kids Indonesia, collaborates on the Global Physical Literacy Action Framework, and supports the Global Observatory for Physical Education. His work has been pivotal in shaping Indonesia's physical education curriculum, including two of the previous ones, which is the 2013 curriculum and Merdeka curriculum. And he continues to lead professional competency development programs for physical education teachers nationwide. His talk would be entitled Meaningful Physical Education, Enriching Lifelong Experiences. So, Pak Agus, you will have 45 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll proceed with 15 minutes question and answer session. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Pak Agus Mahendra.
Okay, thank you very much, Paubat. It's really nice to see you again here. So I personally greet you. And to start with, let me allow me to find my the presentation file for you, because I'd prefer to have direct access to my presentation file, so I could freely move it up and down just to make it easier. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished guests, esteemed keynote speakers, colleagues and friends, and all conference participants. My name is Agus Mahendra from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. It's a great honor for me to be here, so please allow me to extend my sincere gratitude to the organizing committee and the chair of the Sport Education Study Program for having invited me in this prestigious event as one of the keynote speakers. I'm really excited to share with you a framework that has transformed how I think about teaching physical education, one that prioritizes not just fitness or skill, but the meaning students find in the movement. Before I dive into theory, let me share a story from one of my partner schools where I help the teacher to implement the approach I am discussing today. But I need also to extend my apology, a deep apology, because in this afternoon, I wouldn't mention about the research results. What I'm going to present is merely theoretical foundation about the meaningful physical education and reaching lifelong experience. Let me start with the quote, opening quote, but I'd like also to give you a story about what I have mentioned previously. A few weeks ago, I noticed that many of the elementary students viewed PE as just running around and doing exercises. One student, let's call him Danny, would sit on the sideline disengaged. But when I shifted my approach to ask students what they found meaningful about movement, everything changed. Danny chose to design a game combining soccer and traditional Indonesian martial art movement. Not only did he participate enthusiastically, but he also taught his classmates the martial art component. And by the end of the unit, Danny wasn't just moving. He was discovering why movement mattered to him personally. That moment showed me that physical education could be so much more than we often make it. So the quote is, we believe in the inherent value of the movement in our life and the lives of the student we teach. That's from Kretschmann. This is the essence of meaningful PE. So what does it mean to prioritize meaningfulness in physical education then? When we prioritize meaningfulness, we're asking a fundamental question. What will make this experience stick with students long after they leave my classroom? Research shows that students who experience meaningful PE are more likely to continue being physically active throughout their life. They don't just do PE because it's required. They choose to stay active because they have discovered something valuable in movement. Think about your own life. What physical activity do you enjoy? Usually, the answer is it's not because someone forced you, it's because you found something meaningful in it. you have kind of joy, challenge, connection, or personal growth. This isn't a brand new idea, actually. Let me show you the story behind meaningful PE. Meaningful PE is a trendy new approach. It's grounded in decades of scholarship. Scholars like Elliot Matheny in 1968, Rob Kretschmer, and Carla Ennis have been arguing for decades that movement has intrinsic meaning beyond fitness metric. What is exciting is that this older scholarship is now being reinforced by positive psychology research, which emphasizes that meaning and well-being are central to human flourishing. Movement is not just physical, it's deeply connected to emotion, identity, and how we see ourselves in the world. But what exactly do we mean by meaningfulness? Let's break that down. Meaningfulness isn't just about having fun. It's more complex. Psychologists have identified three connected parts. There are purpose, significance, coherence. Purpose related to why are we doing this? What's the goal? And in PE, a student might ask, why am I learning this skill? What can I use it for? And significance mentioned about, does this matter to me emotionally? Does it feel important? When a student feels challenged appropriately and succeed, that is significant. And then the last part is coherence. How does this connect to the rest of my life? A student might say, I learned teamwork in PE and now I use it in my group project for science class. So when we talk about meaningful experience in PE, we are talking about experiences where students feel they have a purpose, where the experience resonates emotionally and where it connects to their broader lives. Now let's see how this concept show up in the definition of meaningful PE. Kretschmer reminds us that meaning encompasses all of human experience, emotion, perception, hopes, dreams, cognition. It's holistic. So again, when we quote Matheny, an experience becomes meaningful when we seize upon it, take it into ourselves, and become involved with it. This is beautifully put. It suggests active engagement and personal investment. In meaningful PE, we are not imposing meaning on students. Instead, we are creating conditions where students discover and construct meaning themselves. Our job as teachers is to facilitate that process. You might be wondering, why should I bother? Why is meaningful PE worth the effort? In many countries, PE has been reduced to health-related fitness outcome. We measure cardiovascular endurance, BMI, and athletic performance. This metric matters, but they tell only part of the story. Imagine if I told you that you need to run 30 minutes a day to be fit, but I gave you no reason to enjoy it, no challenge that excites you, and no way to connect it to your life. How long would you stick with it? One of the greatest things about physical activity is that it makes our lives go better, not just longer. It is the quality of life, the joy of being alive. So meaningful PE says, let's prioritize the quality of students' experience with movement. If we do that, the health benefit and lifelong engagement will follow naturally. Beyond our personal philosophies, there are broader purpose of PE that support this approach. Let's find it. When we look at what PE can accomplish, research and policy documents point to several major purposes. First, PE should help students develop active lifestyle that extend into adulthood, not just in youth, lifelong. Second, PE can be a site of democratic learning. It's a space where different ways of being, moving, and expressing oneself are possible and celebrated. So this is inclusive and transformative, I think. And the third one, building on John Dewey education, including PE, should be about continuous growth and reflection. Each experience build on the last, leading to deeper understanding. All of these purposes align beautifully with meaningful PE. When students experience meaningful PE, they are not just learning skills. They are becoming lifelong movers. They are learning to be part of a diverse community, and they are growing as people. So when we ask, what is meaningful be built upon? What's the theoretical foundation? Well, let's talk about the theoretical foundation. Meaningful PE isn't just a collection of tips or activities. It's grounded in solid educational theory. Dewey and later theorists like Brunner and Leontief showed us that meaning isn't created in isolation. It emerges through our interaction with our environment, the people around us, the physical space, the tools we use, the culture we are part of. So when a student play a game with peer in the gymnasium, let's say, they are not just moving their body, they are transacting with their teammates, with the rule, with the space, with their own memories of past games. All of that shape the meaning they make. On the last layer, social constructivism stands for it too. It says that social constructivism tells us that learning and meaning making is a social process. We co-construct understanding together with others, not alone. Then if we connect it to PE and physical education, this means students learn not in isolation, but through dialogue, collaboration, and shared reflection with peer and teacher. With this foundation, we can now explore a specific feature that make PE meaningful. Let me have my drink. Sorry.
Sure. Take as much time as you need for to drink.
Yeah. Then, based on extensive research and literature review, we have identified 6 key features that appear repeatedly in students' description of meaningful PE experience. They are, first, social interaction, challenge, fun, motor competence, personally relevant learning, and delight. They are all can be found in a book titled Meaningful Physical Education from Tim Fletcher et al. This feature rarely appear in isolation. Instead, they weave together to create rich, meaningful experiences. As we go through each one, think about how you might strengthen it in your own teaching. So let's start with the first feature, social interaction. Social interaction is fundamental to meaningful PE. Humans are social beings. We learn from each other. We are motivated by each other, and we find meaning in relationship. Social interaction happen, for example, when students work in team toward a shared goal, when they teach each other new skill, when they celebrate each other's successes, or even when they support someone who is struggling. Studies show that positive peer interaction leads to increased participation, better learning outcome, and a stronger sense of belonging in PE class. As teacher, we intentionally build community through activities like cooperative learning, sport education model, or teaching for personal and social responsibility, or TPSR. These aren't adds-on. They are central to meaningful PE. But of course, social interaction alone isn't enough. The second feature, challenge, is equally important. Challenge is the sweet spot between boredom and frustration. Kretschmer called this just right challenge, or what psychologists call optimal challenge. Using the flow concept, when the challenge matches our skill levels, we enter a state of flow, total engagement. Too easy, result in boredom. Too hard, result in anxiety. Just right, flow. Imagine if you are teaching dribbling. One student is a beginner, another is advanced. If you give them both the same task, the beginner might be frustrated because it's too difficult, and the advanced student might be bored because it's too easy. But if you offer parallel tasks, different challenge level, what we call right now is differentiated learning in our new curriculum, both students can be optimally challenged. So allowing students to choose their level of challenge or to set personal goal, like I want to improve my accuracy rather than I want to beat everyone, make challenge more meaningful. But be mindful of competition. Some students thrive in competitive challenge, others don't. Offering alternative is the key. Of course, challenge alone can be discouraging. The next feature, fun, help sustain engagement. Fun is perhaps the most obvious feature, but it's often overlooked or undervalued in PE. Students, especially younger ones, often cite fun as the main reason they participate in PE. But its absence can be a deal breaker. Fun changes with age, of course. Primary students often find fun in playing game, running around, or being with friends. But secondary students might find fun in the challenge itself, in social interaction, or in mastering a skill. So fun alone is not enough, but fun as a vehicle for learning, that's powerful. When students are having fun, they are often more engaged, more willing to take risks, and more open to learning. If you frame a skill-building activity as a game with friendly competition and humor, students engage more fully than if you frame it as, now we are going to practice push-up. Same content, different engagement level. While students are having fun and being challenged, they also need to feel capable. That brings us to feature 4, motor competence. Motor competence is central to PE. It's the ability to perform movement skill, but it's not the whole picture. Students participate more enthusiastically, say the research result, and enjoy PE more when they feel competent. They also interact more positively with peers. However, If we overwhelm or overemphasize motor skill performance and focusing only on the fastest, strongest, or most athletic student, we risk excluding or discouraging others. This contradicts meaningfulness. Research by Benny Fletcher and Nick Croinin shows that students value not just motor competence, but also social competence, like teamwork, communication, and cognitive competence like strategy, discipline making. So as teacher, we should celebrate skill improvement across all domains. A student who becomes a better communicator or strategist is becoming more competent, just as much as a student improving their vertical jump. Now, students also need to see how these skills relate to their lives beyond the gymnasium. To do that, we are going to explore the feature 5 that's come in. Feature 5, personally relevant learning. Personally relevant learning is about helping students see the why behind what they are learning. So it is a challenge for PE teacher if many students don't see the connection between PE and their lives. They ask, why am I learning this? Or when will I use this? If you teach a soccer skill, connect it to street football that probably students play in the neighborhood. If you teach that, connect it to cultural practices students know. And if you teach fitness, connect it to activities they enjoy or aspire to do. To do that, teacher need to acquire the strategy of teaching. So usually or commonly, teacher need to create community activity, notice board in the school, invite local athlete or community member as guest speaker, plan field trip, ask students directly, what activities do you enjoy outside of school? How can we incorporate those interests here? Teacher also need to realize about the cultural sensitivity, because personally relevant learning means being aware of your students' background, interests, and the resources available in their community. What is relevant to an urban student might differ from what's relevant to a rural student. And finally, there's one more feature that's elusive but powerful. That is delight. Delight is different from fun. Kretschmer distinguishes it beautifully. Delight is to fun as love is to life, as excellent is to competent. So what is delight? Delight is a deep, memorable, fulfilling experience. It's what happens when you achieve something you've been working toward, when you experience unexpected beauty and movement, when you feel part of something larger than yourself. The question is it matter? Well, while research didn't initially identify student naming delight as contributing to meaningfulness, Kretschmer and others argue it's an important aspiration. Delight is what makes an experience unforgettable. But you really need also to warn with the paradox. Here's the thing, delight isn't something you can guarantee in a lesson plan, but you can create conditions where it might happen. You nurture it through allowing authentic challenge, genuine celebration of effort, and moment of wonder in movement. So for example, a student might experience delight when they finally master a skill they have struggled with, or when they discover their love of dance, or when they perform a well-coordinated group movement with their peers. That's delight. Now, the sick picture don't exist in isolation. Let me show you how they work together. One of the most important insights from research is that this picture integrate. They don't stand alone. Integrate means imagine a cooperative game where students work in team. That is social interaction to solve a movement puzzle. That is challenge and motor competence. That relate to sport they love. That's personal relevant. While laughing together, fun. That is the example of integration. But that's also content flexibility. It's not necessary or even possible to include every feature in every lesson. What matters is intentional weaving. In one lesson, challenge and motor competence might be dominant, but in another, social interaction and fun might be emphasized. So as a teacher, you make strategic choices about which feature to emphasize based on your students' need, the learning outcome you are targeting, and the content. So how do we actually teach using meaningful PE? What does this look like in practice? Meaningful PE isn't just a philosophy. It is a practical teaching approach. Here are core strategies. First, shared language. Use the SIG feature as part of your classroom vocabulary. When you ask students what made the experience meaningful, they learn to reflect on challenge, fun, social connection, and so on. And then ask students to decide the goal setting. Have students set both short-term and long-term goal. Short-term goal could state, today, I want to improve my passing accuracy. But for long-term target, children can formulate, by the end of the unit, I want to feel confident leading a game. And then don't forget about reflection. Build in time for reflection, like journal, discussion, check-in, and ask students, what did you find meaningful today? What challenge did you overcome? How did teamwork help? And then use democratic pedagogy. Give students to have their choice. Over choice and activities, challenge, role, and pathway. This build autonomy and personal investment. And then don't forget also universal application. Whether you are teaching dance, gymnastics, swimming, or soccer, meaningful PE principle apply. The picture remain constant, the content varies. Now you might be thinking, isn't this just another model competing with approaches I already know? Well, let me address that. Meaningful PE isn't positioned as the only way to teach PE, of course. Instead, it's an overarching framework. So when I clarify this, if you are already using sport education, teaching for personal and social responsibility, cooperative learning, or game-based approach, meaningful PE complement these. It helps you implement them with clearer intention around meaningfulness. And don't forget also about coherence. In many schools, PE approaches are fragmented. One teacher does fitness unit, another teacher does skill-based unit, another does game. Meaningful PE helps create coherence across all these approaches by asking, how does each approach help students find meaningfulness? So to do that, we need also to prioritize level of flexibility. Meaningful PE is flexible. It works in urban gym and outdoor field. It works in wealthy school and under-resourced school. It works in different cultural contexts. To make meaningful PE work, we need two pillars: democratic practice and reflective practice. Let's explore each of them. Meaningful PE rests on two foundational pedagogical approaches: democratic practice and reflective practice. What is democratic practice? This means students have a voice in what they learn, how they learn it, and how progress is evaluated. It's not anything goes. It's structure, dialogue, and negotiation. Teacher as activity broker. Kretschmer term is apt. We are not just delivering PE, we are brokering opportunities for students to find activities that matter to them. This requires deep knowledge of our students' interests and the resource available in our community. So democratic PE is built on strong, positive relationship. This means intentionally fostering trust, respect, and belonging. Use student names because the majority of teachers are not familiar with the student name, let's say. Show genuine interest, make eye contact, smile. TPSR and sport education is naturally supporting democratic practice because they build student leadership and responsibility. Let me share with you specific strategies for creating democratic practice. Here are concrete ways to make your PE class more democratic. Involve students in planning. Ask students, what would you like to learn this unit? Or how should we organize this team? Listen to their ideas, adapt based on their input. So we need to provide them also with parallel activities. Offer parallel activities so students can choose how to participate. For example, you can work on accuracy passing, or you can practice long-distance kicks, or you can design your own kicking challenge. All three develop kicking competence. Students choose based on interest. Create space for genuine dialogue. Circle, community meeting, reflective discussion, and then let student voice guide decision. It's also offer pluralism. Show through your action that diverse way of moving, being, and participating are valued. Celebrate different strengths. Don't privilege the faster or strongest. Celebrate growth, effort, creativity, and teamwork instead. And then give students autonomy in how they participate when possible. This builds intrinsic motivation, the kind that lasts. All of this democratic practice is strengthened, of course, by reflection. So let me explain what it means. Reflection is absolutely central to meaningful PE. Without meaningful experiences can be fleeting and forgotten. Why reflection? Of course, this is educational framework from Dewey. Dewey taught us that an experience alone doesn't guarantee learning. Reflection on experience, making sense of it, is what creates lasting learning and meaning. And then when we talk about the type of reflection, there are at least 3 types or 4 types of reflection. The first one is goal setting. Students set goal at the start of a unit or lesson. This give purpose and direction. And then require that student write PE diaries. After each lesson, students briefly write or draw about their experience. What was meaningful? What challenged them? What did they learn? Offer also check in by teacher in the middle of the lesson. Ask student, how is this experience going for you? Are you finding it meaningful? What would make it better? And offer group discussion after all, and then create space for small group or whole class reflection. What made today meaningful, or how did teamwork help us? In teacher reflection, teachers should also reflect on their own practice, on what students are experiencing, and on how to adjust lesson. So it's not student to make reflection. We, teacher, require us to do. To have students engage in reflection, we use a shared language. Let me show you how to make it. For reflection to work, students need accessible language. They can all understand motor competence or social constructivism. But in reality, they cannot understand it easily. So to make it easy, simplify for elementary students, instead of motor competence, we say getting better at skill. Instead of social interaction, we say being with others. Instead of personally relevant learning, we say making connection. So complement it with visual support, like pause the simple term with visual illustration in your gymnasium or classroom. Students internalize the language through repeated use. We also introduce rubric in the lesson. Create simple rubric using this language. Today, I was being with other, and I got, let's say, you will got 5 points. If you go better at skill, you got 4 or something like that. And you need also to prioritize age progression indeed. Start simple with primary student and gradually introducing more sophisticated language as they mature. Don't forget, provide also assessment tool. This shared language become your assessment tool. You observe and ask students how they were using this feature. Their response tell you what they are finding meaningful. Now, let's talk about how to actually implement all of this in your school context. Implementation doesn't require a complete overhaul of your program. You can start small, start smart, and grow. In the first step, choose one strategy. Maybe it's sharing language about the 6 feature, about a challenge, social interaction, relevant and personal meaning, motor competence, fun, and delight. Use it consistently for 2-3 weeks in consecutive order. See what shift. Build reflection time. Start with just 5 to 6 minutes at the end of each lesson for reflection. A quick check-in. What did you find meaningful today? This is not wasted time. It depends meaning. Listen to students. Pay attention to what students tell you. Let their feedback shape your lesson. If students say they need more choice, offer more choice. If they say they want to work with certain peers, listen. Sometimes students know their social need better than we do. And then in the context matter, Adapt meaningful PE to your context. Limited space? That's fine. Focus on social interaction and reflection. Large outdoor field? Great. Add challenge and choice. Low resources? Use what you have creatively. Student interest and cultural background. Center this. Let me remind you also that in doing this, you need patience because transformation takes time. Some students have been conditioned to think PE is just exercise. Showing them the meaningfulness take consistent, intentional effort over weeks and months. So let me summarize the key takeaway. Meaningful PE enriches life now and lifelong. Meaningful PE isn't just about PE class. It's about helping students discover the power and joy of movement. When they do, they are more likely to stay active their whole lives. That's a gift. Second, your role as teacher is crucial. You are not just delivering content. You are facilitating experiences. You are a curator of meaning. That's profound and powerful word. The third, meaningful PE is flexible. It works in many contexts. It complements other approaches. It's not one size fits all. It's responsive to your student, your community, and your resources. So I want to invite you into this work. In the end, I offer a call to action. Here's what I invite you to do. Tonight or this week, reflect on your current PE teaching. What do you already do well? Where do students seem most engaged? When do they seem disengaged? Often, the answers point to a meaningfulness. Refine also your philosophy about physical education. Ask yourself, why do I teach PE? What do I hope my students take away? Let that guide your implementation of meaningful PE. And then you need also to have a strategy, of course. Pick one strategy and try it with your next class. Maybe it's asking students, what did you find meaningful today? Or offering parallel activities or creating journal. Start small, but build from here. And then you need to encourage students also, because change is hard, but it's possible. I have seen PE teachers transform their practice and their students' experience. You can do too. Let me close with a final reflection. I want to come back to Dani, the students that I mentioned in the preview section. The student I told you about at the beginning. When he discovered his own meaningful PE experience, something shifted. He didn't just move differently, he saw himself as creative, as capable of leading, as part of community. That's what meaningful PE does. So for me, as an educator involved with Active Healthy Kids Indonesia and working with the Global Observatory of Physical Education, this work matters deeply. We are not just trying to fit more children into fitness metric. We are trying to help them discover the profound meaning and joy that movement can bring. So as the final thought, I believe that every child deserves a physical education experience where they feel seen, challenged, connected, and joyful. So meaningful PE is one path to make that real. Here are the key sources for today's presentation. If you are interested in diving deeper, I encourage you to read these scholars. They are the foundation of meaningful PE. I am happy to share more resources with you after the presentation, including practical tools like reflection template and unit planning guide. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for your time and your engagement today. I know that PE teaching is complex work, and I'm grateful for educators who care deeply about these students' experiences. I'd love to hear your question, your thought, and your own stories. How do you currently foster meaningful experience? What barrier do you face? And what possibilities do you see? After this presentation, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to discuss implementation, share resources, or support your PE program as you integrate meaningful PE. Remember, meaningful PE begin with you. You believe that PE matter, that movement matter, that your student experiences matter. That's the foundation. Everything else builds from there. Thank you very much.
Bagus, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bagus, thank you so much for such a meaningful presentation about meaningful PE. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the highest appreciation by giving the big round of applause for Pak Agus Mahendra for the presentation. He successfully broke down the meaningful PE from the theoretical foundation to the practical implementations. And the story about Dani, it's very inspiring. Well, I'm going to invite, now we've come to the Q&A session, discussion session. I'm going to invite questions from the participants. And the rule is still the same. If you would like to directly interact with Pak Agus, please click the raise hand feature on your Zoom. And then we're going to pin you. And then you can directly interact with Pak Agus. Or there's another alternative in which you can type your questions on the chatting box. We already have 2 questions from the comment box. The first one is from Raulius Telaumbanua, SPD, from Indonesia Education, from UP. How can the meaning of PE be applied in schools with very limited facilities and infrastructure, such as small fields or without adequate sports equipment? As data from the Ministry of Education and Cultures, or DAPODIC, in 2024 shows that around 28%, and that is very low, of school sports facilities are in damaged condition or require repair. Yeah, you might implicitly state that, but would you please be more elaborate on how to implement meaningful PE to schools with under resources? Please, Bagus.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. It's of course a very hard question to answer. Well, what I already mentioned and figured out in using the meaningful PE, it's all like implemented in ideal condition, actually, of course. So when you find a challenge in terms of field condition, which is, let's say, under resources, that means you need to do something more than only implement the meaningful PE as the theory value. You need to try to, like, having additional support from school. How could we teach PE with or without meaningful PE in a kind of better condition? So, but I think the responsibilities lies on you, on teachers' shoulder, actually, because as teacher, you must not let the condition influence you. So there is kind of suggestion from our minister, from the Ministry of Education, that is what we call asset-based thinking. So you need to make use of any resources that are available in school creatively in order to support your program, your plan, your ideal future for implementing your PE. So when you are planning to implement meaningful PE, then you actually could be helped by trying to shift the orientation, the main focus of the PE, not only on how this shortcoming in terms of school condition bother you in order to give opportunity for students to learn optimally. So just try to combine between the target or the domain that always combine together between psychomotor domain and affective domain and cognitive domain in order at least to improve the meaningfulness of PE in the eye of the student. So try to combine between democratic pedagogy and reflective pedagogy because it's kind of the gate to enter the real ideal PE. But of course, in terms of the target, you must be aware that you are not going to reach the ideal result from the shortcoming. So everything I think you need to find could be partner or support from the school, from principal, that in order for you to be able to teach PE ideally, you need the support from many parties. So that I think it's only general answer from me, but I think you can do it together. I think later with experience, you are going to be able to solve the problem. I think
All
that's
right.
my answer.
All right. Thank you so much for the answer. Moving
Yeah.
forward to the next question from Nur Alam Rahmatullah. Let me rephrase the question. Some students are very outspoken, the others are very shy. Some have like higher confidence and some others have lower confidence.
Mhm.
In the meaningful PE, how to ensure democracy doesn't benefit those students with higher confidence only?
Wow. Then you need to change your perspective because if you always stay in, let's say, in status quo, that means you are not moving forward. What you have already explained to us about the majority of students are, let's say, stay in condition of not able to expose their voice. It's also sometime or to a certain extent mostly influenced by the teacher ways of interaction with the student. So student like portrays your way of teaching and make it as the standard for the student. So if they are quietly, let's say, the introvert student, then they will stay in that condition. So the teacher need to offer a better way of communication with student, and the student need to be convinced that it is safe for them to let's say voice their opinion, and also they are free to have a choice with giving student kind of what we call in our new curriculum as differentiated learning. We offer different level of skill difficulty that can be chosen by the student. So that will also help. So I think it's connect with what we call pedagogical competency. Of
Yeah.
course, teachers are responsible to again and again improve their pedagogical competencies.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Interesting. And that also emphasizes that lifelong learning should go both ways, right? It's not only for
Yeah.
the students, but the teachers. They cannot stop learning. I mean, they have to know that. I mean, long ago, probably my physical education teachers, they didn't even know the differences between introverts and like extrovert students. But now, because of like the development of like the psychology, technology, and everything, teachers, they need to be okay. Thank you so much. Next question. Interesting. This is interesting. From Shakir Fathul Mubin, and this one is a macro question from a policy standpoint. What do you think the government, what kind of concrete actions do you think our government can prioritize due to the shift of the focus from sports achievement to creating positive experiences for every student within the PE context?
Yeah, the answer is still waiting for to be realized. Because right now we actually was felt encouraged and feel supported by the mandate from our ministry, our minister, to always use what we call deep learning approach.
Oh, okay.
And this learning approach kind in go in line with this meaningful PE, because if you ever remember, or you always remember about one of the formula in deep learning is meaningfulness or meaningful learning. And we are talking about meaningful physical education. So with this approach, we try to support the only mention to, let's say, to meaningful learning with something that operates, something with, let's say, with detailed aspect of meaningful education or meaningful physical education that consists of the first one is challenge, and then social interaction, and then motor competence, and personal relevant meaning, and fun and delight. So with this broken, this meaningful PE into at least 6 aspects or 6 features, teachers are helped to, let's say, to implement the deep learning approach. So we as a physical education teacher are fortunate with, let's say, the development of theory and model or approach done by PE experts in international scale that already produce what we call meaningful PE. It helped us very big and very much, because they help us to detail what should do in, let's say, implementing the deep learning theory or the deep learning approach in teaching PE. That's what my opinion.
All right. Now that you mentioned again the elements of the meaningful PE, I have a personal question, because earlier when you came out with the concept of challenge, there's one quote that I'm really interested in, that is challenge is actually the border between boredom and what's the other one?
Boredom and sorry.
Let me have a look at my notes. I actually took notes of it.
Yeah.
Frustration.
Yeah.
Too easy, they get bored. Too hard, they get frustrated. But then to me, it sounds too personalized. And I think in PE with big classes, personalized learning is something that teachers cannot afford. So what kind of strategies do you think teachers can implement to have the right amount of challenge for every student?
Well, actually, our pedagogical competence tell us about how to determine or how to formulate the progression. When we teach one specific movement, let's say, or technique, we require to expose it, to offer it to the children in progression. We start with the very simple, and then go on to, let's say, to the more difficult, and then going up again to the most difficult one. So in this practice, we also know the term of content development, in which teachers are required to do like extending, refining, and applying ability. So teacher, when they see, let's say, one of the students are in the difficult situation, then he needs to do extending by lowering the level of difficulty. Or when we see someone or one student doing too easy, then we offer the challenge, the more difficult task, which could hinder him to, let's say, to get to the board situation. Then children always going up or going down based on the offer of the teacher responsibility. But of course, now in the new curriculum, we are challenged as teacher. We are challenged to offer what we call differentiated learning. Now, so we can, let's say, provide different level of practice, of different level of difficulty, and children are given opportunity to choose which one is the most suitable for their ability. This is what we call differentiated learning. Differentiated learning could be, let's say, called as inter-task and intra-task. Inter-task is offering different skill to be chosen by student. But in intra-task, we offer the same skill, but with different difficulty level. So it's the theory say like that. So it depends on the content knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge of the teacher. They need to provide student with in line with the theory. So that's the answer. I hope.
Wow.
I answered it.
Yeah. But then the more complexity that the teachers need to have, the more I realize that teaching should be the profession with the highest pay, right? Don't you agree with me? Well,
Yeah,
last question.
I agree. And I think PE teacher are the most challenged teacher
Yeah, I
among
have
the
to agree.
other subject matters, because
Okay.
they need to, let's say, to take it into account about the environment of the learning, and then the ability of the students, and then what we call content knowledge. There are so many content knowledge to be required to be mastered by a teacher, starting from, let's say, fundamental skill, and then going to different kind of sport, and then you need also to master kind of dance movement and anything, and also swimming or aquatic
Wow.
matter. Yeah, so are many that should be
It's too much to
required.
digest.
Yeah,
All
that's
right, this discussion is getting more and more interesting, unfortunately, because time is not in our favor. So we still have time to answer one of the questions. I'm going to choose one question from Agus Mukti, stating that given the current shift towards learner-centered approaches such as meaningful PE, to what extent do you think Indonesian physical education teacher education programs have completed preparing future teachers to design learning experiences that go beyond sport-based routines? are you confident enough that we equip future teachers to be good teachers for Danny?
Yeah. It's a really good question, and I think it's the hardest question that I ever have. Because like
Agus
this,
Mukti, okay, you challenge him, Agus
yeah,
Mukti.
I'm not sure whether I'm familiar with, I know Agus Mukti or not, because so many students coming, and the three questions previously was extended by, let's say, my graduate student actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The answer about to your question is actually really depend on the preparedness of study program level.
Mm.
I'm sure that all of the study program running right now and preparing teacher, PE teacher, are already knows about the situation. But majority of this study program also are not in action phase of modify their curriculum to be offered to the student. So there should be like what we call a kind of uniform policy that all study program running program preparing PE teacher should have, let's say, identical curriculum, let's say. Then we can be sure that there will be a shifting, a great shifting in the future, in order to convince that the teacher we prepare are ready to become a professional teacher. But the problem is not all study program are ready to do that. And also now the situation in each faculty is, let's say, more people are concerned about sport elites, but so few people or so few academicians are concerned about the PE innovation. That's the problem. Another issue related to, let's say, that becoming PE teacher is lower status than, let's say, English teacher, let's say, like you. So it's also influenced.
Am I an English teacher? I think I identify
don't
myself.
know,
I'm kidding.
that's what I know. So are you okay, that also influenced the choice, let's say, the students or the choice of the parent, which study program their kid or their children should choose in the higher education. So that make also study program only accepted or only receive maybe not the best raw input student. It's also a kind of problem. Well, I think so many answers. There are so many factors should be answered about this, but I hope later when I already not in the position or not in the, there will be another person who care more about the development of PE teacher preparation. I hope.
Okay, so Agus Mukti, if you still have like more curiosity, you can come to his office, I think, for like deeper discussion. Unfortunately, this is the end of our session. For the second speaker of the first plenary session, once again, let's give a big round of applause for Bapak Agus Mahendra, Bapak Dr. Agus Mahendra. Thank you so much once again. Have a wonderful day. So we're going to move forward to the next speaker,
Okay,
which
thank you very
is,
much.
thank you so much once again, which is Dr. Chem Tinas. But let me check. Dr. Chem Tinas, are you here with us already? Oh, it's so good to see you again. I really hope that you still remember me.
Of course I do.
Okay, how are you? Thank you so much for your availability. I know that it's not even it's not even 9 in the morning there, right?
Actually, yeah, I had some difficulties over the last couple of days. Unfortunately, I have a funeral today. That's why I came during the
Oh,
night to Turkey. Yeah, I traveled to Turkey, so I'm home right now. Under normal circumstances, it should be 9 in the Netherlands,
okay.
but in Turkey it's 11. Yeah, so
11 like AM or PM?
no. So it's AM. Actually,
Oh,
it's okay in terms of time. No issues. But yesterday night has been kind of difficult for me, so I've been traveling. But still, so I will survive, and I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad to see you again. So it has been a while. I wish
yeah.
that I could be there in person, but still, I am more than thankful, and I appreciate a lot for including me to this wonderful conference again. So
Yes.
it's lovely to be with you again, as
First
always.
of all, deepest condolences for the loss.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, we're really sorry for
Yeah.
that. Secondly, don't worry, you're not the only one who's not in Indonesia. I'm myself not in Indonesia. I'm currently in
Okay.
Sydney, Australia. So yeah, we're
Yes.
like in different like time zones.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Dr. Shamtunas, even though this is not your first time, and I believe that you need no introduction, but allow me to briefly introduce you to these new participants before you give the 1 hour talk, including the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Chem Tinaz is an accomplished sport management scholar and international sport governance leader. He is a principal lecturer in international sport management at the Hague University of Applied Sciences, the Netherlands, and also he is an adjunct professor at UPI. Such an honor to have you as one of the adjunct professors.
That's
He
my
also
honor.
serves as the vice president of Tennis Europe, which he leads the development committee and stakeholders task force. With extensive experience directing international sports events, coordinating Erasmus projects, and managing professional sport organizations, he has built a strong global profile in sport policy, mega event management, athlete development, and sport governance. His scholarly work includes numerous peer-reviewed publications, edited books, and contributions to Routledge handbooks on sport policy, sustainability, and global sport development. Dr. Chemtina's career spans universities across Europe and Asia, major international conferences, and collaborative projects funded by the European Commissions and the IOC, positioning himself as a leading voice in contemporary sport management and development. His talk today will be about meaningfulness as public value, rethinking physical education, and sport policy and sport for quality education. My apologies. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please give the warmest welcome to Dr. Chem Tinas.
Ubat, you should come to me for all my sessions. So thank you very much for the great introduction you did. So I was going to cover some of the things what you said on my third slide. So you saved me some time. Thank you for that also. But in order to give our participants also some kind of context, how it relates, so what am I going to talk about today? It's meaningfulness in physical education and sports. But actually, I'm going to try to approach this subject matter through different lenses. And as you said, so I've been part of different institutions, organizations. So even right now, also, so I'm actually contributing to different organizations by different means, as different roles, which gives me some kind of a wider perspective to see also what's working, what's not working. So I will give you also some practical examples. So as you said, I am currently based in the Netherlands, and there I've been taking part in various type of projects, including the Erasmus Plus project. So right now we have an ongoing project with the Dutch Volleyball Federation, and so they are actually doing amazing things, I have to say, because they are giving the space, they are giving the room to the young leaders, and the people are the ones who are initiating the decisions, which is also fundamental for actually today's session. Yeah, so as you said, my actually presentation is titled Meaningfulness as Public Value, Rethinking Physical Education and Sport for Quality Education. So thank you very much once again for inviting me. I mean, I spent more than 25 years within the sports context. And actually, while I'm working on this presentation, so I tried to think about different type of questions. So, and these questions were, how can sport and physical activity function as a meaningful educational environments? How does quality actually can be embedded within the context of physical education and youth sport? And why do so many well-intentioned policies fail to translate into meaningful experiences for young people? So, I mean, over the last, 20, 25 years, I've seen a lot of ambitious projects. Some were working well, but many did not. So, and the question, what triggers me also, while I am working on this presentation, is why some are working, on the other hand, some are failing. So, and that's why today I want to argue meaningfulness is not a soft concept, actually. It is the foundation upon which the public value of sport and physical education rests. And there is a strong relevance with the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is the quality education. And so that's why I'm going to make some connections in between. I will explore, first of all, what meaningfulness means, then what it matters for public value creation, how does it align and embed with the SDG 4, and how, so the last part of the presentation will deal with how can we design systems and governance structures, and also how can we create pedagogical approaches that can make meaningful experiences possible. So let me go through my presentation. I think everything is fine. So I'm looking at a different screen, but please let me know if something is wrong. So
Everything's fine. Everything
is
looks
fine.
amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Bob. Okay, so yes, so actually, first of all, I like to start with the negatives. I like to highlight the challenges. So what are the challenges? First of all, we see high disengagement in physical education and also youth sport. So there are a lot of proof, such as UNESCO's quality physical education guidelines, systematic reviews, which are done by prominent scholars. They show that young people disengage when physical education is only performance oriented, repetitive, and also teacher directed. So actually, there are some fundamental elements which I will talk about, such as the enjoyment. If these fundamental elements are absent, this engagement rises. So especially among the marginalized groups, students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, girls, depending on the culture, this is one of the challenges we see. So, and then the second one is declining physical literacy in many countries. And again, there is proof coming from various type of countries, even the most developed countries also. So long-term physical literacy declines due to low motivation, due to low movement confidence, and actually fundamental movement skills. So this is also another challenge which we can talk about. So the third challenge is policies emphasize participation but not meaning. The policies rarely articulate how they can ensure experiences are meaningful, inclusive, personally relevant. So, I mean, most of the policies are focusing on participation. I mean, they are focusing on the number of participation rather than the quality of the experience. So that's also another issue what we see. Another challenge what we see is systems prioritize performance over learning, when we are talking about physical education and sports, so most of the time the human resources funding is going in the direction of skill development and competence. So the performance becomes the priority, where we are actually forgetting about creativity, cooperation, reflection, social inclusion. And actually, this is also creating some kind of pressure on meaningful learning. So another challenge is SDG 4 is ambitious as many other goals and targets. So it's actually ambitious, but unfortunately, it is most of the time unmeeting meaningful experiences. So SDG 4 prioritizes inclusive, equitable, learner-centered education, which supports lifelong learning, well-being, and skills for life and work. But actually, without meaningfulness, sport can contribute minimal to the deeper educational outcomes, which are highlighted by the SDG 4. So, I mean, this gives us some kind of a starting point to figure it out. Okay, what are the challenges? What are we going to deal with? So it's not because I like to start with the negatives, but it's because I like to highlight where we are, first of all. And as I said, Ubat, you helped me to cover these slides within your introduction. So I have many different hats, so I still do. So I work for different institutions as a lecturer. This gives also, this has provided me also to see it through different cultural lenses, because culture is a fundamental concept here. And depending on the culture, actually the solution what you propose might not work. Depending on the cultural context, you need to make a lot of alterations. So yeah, I am representing Tennis Europe, for example, whereas I'm dealing with more than 50 countries there. So if you design a solution dreaming about it's going to fit most of these nations, it's not. It's not happening, because there are huge differences. Even I mean, if you think about the European continent, there are more than 50 countries with huge differences. So we have countries with 100 million inhabitants. We have countries such as Kosovo, San Marino, with some couple 100,000 members of the community. So it creates a lot of differences. So that's why actually we need to think about that in order to be able to create these meaningful experiences, and in order to be able to create efficient systems, we need to look at these minor details. So we cannot create a solution which is going to fit to all the problems. So that's why, as you are going to hear also in one of my upcoming slides, we need to create solutions which are heavily focusing on minor issues first, and then we can scale up these solutions in the long run. Okay, so moving on. Actually, I set the challenges, but here there is a fundamental question. The dominant question is, are young people active? But the true question, the important question which we need to highlight is experience relevant, engaging, or educationally valuable? So this should be the question, rather than focusing on the activity. So the second thing is, most of the systems, they are heavily relying on drills, and they are actually instructed with a teacher-centered perspective. But actually, we need to think about how we can give more space to self-explore the participants themselves, to create an efficient dialogue platform, how they can reflect their experiences, and how they can highlight their personal choices. So that's also another aspect which we need to highlight. So yeah, the culture of performance dominance is a problem, as I mentioned. So yes, competition is fundamental. I mean, in your country, you have aspirations, as we do. Turkey, we discussed that when I was there in person also. So you have aspirations to put yourself in one of the as one of the leading countries in the world in terms of competitiveness, performance. So that's crucial, yes. But actually, we need to think about how we can create meaningful experiences for the people, first of all, instead of trying to make them successful athletes. Yeah. So, and this should be a fundamental point for us. All right. Then if these models they are lacking meaningfulness, they struggle to achieve long-term engagement. So yes, through the curricula, through the ambitious goals we are setting, young people may become participants, may comply in the short term, mostly because PA, physical education mandatory, or maybe their parents are pushing them in this direction. But we need to think about the intrinsic motivation. So we need to think about the curiosity. We need to think about the confidence, which is needed for lifelong physical activity. So in order to be able to do that, we need to create clear systems and structures. So without having those systems and structures, we cannot achieve these desired goals. All right, so moving on. Yeah, so actually, I said this, the importance of this question: are students active? But the main question, the main direction should be, what does activity means for the students? So, and meaningfulness, which is our fundamental concept today, highlights and advocates learner-centered experiences. So, and actually for these learner-centered experiences, the starting point is not the drill, or not the technique or the performance. So the starting point is the learner's identity, the learner's needs, interest, and also the realities of these people. So actually, that's why a central component of the meaningful physical education relies in person relevance and also ownership. So our students, they need to feel that what they are doing matters for their lives. So it doesn't matter if it connects to their well-being, if it contributes to their social relationships, sense of competence, or future aspirations. So it doesn't matter really. But what matters is whatever priorities they have, they need to have some kind of a long-term relevance. So we need to highlight the long-term engagement far more than external pressure and fitness testing. So it should not come from external forces. So we have to think about how we can translate it into intrinsic motivation, right? So another key pillar here to emphasize is the enjoyment and social connection. So experiences that are joyful, that are collaborative, and also socially meaningful, they create emotional bonds with the movement. And in the long run, these bonds can turn into lifelong learning and participation processes. So actually, meaningful physical education emphasizes an appropriate challenge. So what I mean by appropriate challenge is, so some resources refer it Goldilocks zone, which means these challenges shouldn't be too easy or too difficult. So when actually the learners are experiencing themselves as competent and capable of improvement, then their motivation increases. So this is what the physical literacy research is showing us. So we need to find this balance, all right? So it shouldn't be too easy or it shouldn't be too complicated for them. So they need to feel that they are self-improving. They need to enjoy the exercise which we are proposing, all right? So, and again, students need to make sense of their experiences. So they need to articulate what they have enjoyed. They need to identify what challenged them, and they need to connect these insights to their broader lives. So basically, what they're experiencing in the PA and sport phase, so they need to take it out and they need to embed it to the other fields of their lives. Yeah. So I mean, what we are trying to highlight here is we are not trying to abandon the movement. No, not at all. But we are trying to infuse a movement with meaning. Yeah. So, and it needs to provide the pedagogical foundation upon which the physical education and sport can generate a genuine educational value. So this is not easy to achieve, yes, but so in this session, I'm trying to highlight different aspects of it, which we need to focus on while we are trying to come up with some efficient structures, systems. All right, so moving on, what are the mechanisms of meaningfulness? So this is the critical question here. So actually, these are the elements, not simply desirable features of a good lesson, but so these are the elements which can create meaningful learning, and in the long run, it can be transferred and turned into public value, because this is also what we are trying to achieve. So through these meaningful experiences, we are trying to come up with something way bigger, which is the public value. So, I mean, if we think about the traditional physical education, it relies mostly on external pressure. So assessment is fundamental, teacher direction, compulsory participation. So meaningful physical education highlights intrinsic motivation. So this is the first aspect of it. So second, so we need to focus on the powerful indicators, predictors of long-term participation. So what are these? I mean, how can we turn participation into something which is going to exist in the long run? So we need to focus on different aspects, and we need to create enjoyment. So we need to create interaction. So the competence, but a balanced competence should be there, and also a balanced challenge should be there. All right. So this is crucial and for any kind of public value argument. And then all these elements, they need to drive to the development of physical literacy. And by physical literacy, I don't mean only the motor skills, but the confidence, but the motivation, and understanding of a need for lifelong movement. So they need to have a clear understanding what being an active person can bring them in the long run. So, and we need to think about the emotional and cognitive foundation for young people, which is relevant and fundamental also for physical activity over time. Yeah. So, and also we need to think about the elements which are going to enhance the social and emotional learning. So social interaction within the scope of physical education is critical, because social interaction fosters belonging, it fosters communication, it can help building up resilience, it can actually improve and support self-awareness. And in the same way, not only the physical well-being, but the emotional well-being can have some kind of positive impact through that. So, and all these aspects, they have some kind of relevance with the SDG 4. So, and if we highlight SDG 4.7, it says by 2030, this ambitious goal aims to ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, appreciation of cultural diversity, and also culture's contribution to sustainable development. So this is very ambitious, right? So it's very complicated also. And again, I also believe that most of the time we are leading way more than physical education can deliver. Physical education and sports can deliver, all right? So this is a very ambitious goal, and it can only be achieved if this system and structure is designed with some other fundamental aspects. And sport and physical education can only be one part of it, but also an efficient and impactful one. So we need to have a clear understanding as the stakeholders of this environment, of this structure. So we have the power to contribute to these goals, to these targets, but it's not only in our hands. So that is also something we need to acknowledge. All right, moving on. I think in terms of time, I'm doing well, but so I'm reaching to the half slowly.
Okay, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah,
All right.
you've got 21 minutes left. So yeah, you're
Okay,
good.
21 minutes. That's good. All right, so moving on. So the pathway. First of all, we need to understand that meaningful experiences, which we are trying to achieve, they can generate intrinsic motivation. So an intrinsic motivation is something needed for long-term engagement. So it can lead to long-term engagement. Actually, systems built on meaningful experiences, they tend to support ongoing involvement, which is beyond school hours, and actually which can be easily and effectively embedded into the adulthood phases. So third, the long-term engagement allows young people to develop physical literacy. And as I already have highlighted, physical literacy is something about confidence, motivation, competence, and also mutual understanding. So it's not only a set of skills, it's also the relationship of an individual which she can build with the movement across their lifespan, right? So following to that, physical literacy can be transformed into lifelong well-being. So, and by lifelong well-being, I mean physical, social, and emotional well-being. Yeah? So it's not only physical, but it's also social and emotional. So, and this is also linked with health, resilience, mental well-being, and also the capacity to participate fully in the society. And again, this is something needed to create public value. So in order to be able to create public value, we need to have a population which participates fully in the society. So, and finally, all these outcomes come together, create collective well-being, and collective well-being equals to public value. So as a result of that, we can say, in theory, we can say that physical education and sport can foster well-being, agency, inclusion, sustainability, awareness, social cohesion, and it has the potential to contribute to the community, but it's not easy. So it's very complicated. But I will make some suggestions. Yeah, still complicated to achieve, but I will come up with some suggestions to you. So, I mean, how does it align with the SDG? All the things what we have talking about. So 4.1, SDG 4.1 emphasizes learner-centered, relevant, and effective education. Meaningful physical education also focuses on that: personal relevance, voice, agency, reflection. So it actually aims to position learners as active participants of their education. The SDG 4.5 calls for the elimination of inequalities for inclusive, equitable learning and environments. In the same way, meaningful physical education supports inclusion away from performance metrics, which I mentioned, and competition. It prioritizes belonging, competence, and social connection, which can contribute to equity, inclusion, and also participation. So the next one is 4.4, which is the skills for life, well-being, and work. The mechanisms of meaningfulness are fundamental life skills. So these are precisely the kinds of transversal skills that employers, communities, or education systems value. So what we are trying to achieve, so they are pretty much the same things. All right. So the SDG 4.7 is particularly important, especially lately. Sustainability is a very fundamental term lately, yes, and it's gonna get even more important, I believe. Sustainability, human rights, gender equality, global citizenship, cultural understanding. So those are the things which are highlighted there. And again, meaningful physical education contributes this fully. So, I mean, for example, I am part of an Erasmus Plus project, a couple of Erasmus Plus projects, but one of them is green tennis, where we are trying to create awareness among the young tennis players in Europe. And so there is a perfect fit and alignment. And how do we do that? We are trying to do that through tennis. We are trying to do that through the platform which tennis actually enables us. Finally, the lifelong learning pathways. This is also fundamental. So meaningful physical education aims to strengthen the intrinsic motivation and physical literacy, which is actually a form of continuous learning. Yeah. So this is how all these things and concepts which I'm trying to highlight align with the SDG 4, different priorities of the SDG 4. Okay, moving on. 17 minutes, Ubat, right? I have 17 minutes.
Yes. No,
Yes.
it's actually 15 now.
15. Okay, I'm moving on.
Yeah,
So
but it's okay. You can
yes,
have like
I'll
2
make
minutes
it on time.
over
Yes.
time.
Yeah. All right. So, but in reality, intentions and the realities, they don't mostly come together. So we can see those ambitious goal setting, ambitious policy documents, but when you look at the outcomes, most of the time, the desired policies, these ambitious policies, they rarely translate into practice. And I think this is a very major problem which we need to think about, because most of the time our priority is to create those policies and put them on the paper, highlight them, make people aware of it. But in terms of the implementation and in terms of achieving the desired outcomes, so this is fundamental and this is critical. I mean, it doesn't matter how ambitious our policies are, if we are not able to create the desired outcomes, they are meaningless. Yeah. And so in contrary, we are trying to create which is meaningful. So that's why this is something which we have to consider. Yeah. So second, this is fundamental for you, because I know most of the people who are listening to us today, they are contributing to this structure by different means. But actually, these meaningful experiences, they put you in a fundamental position, central position as teachers, coaches, but in terms of creating additional opportunities for you, to support you, to train you, equip you, the capacity is limited. So this might be because the educators are unwilling, but this might be also because of the time, training, resources, funding constraints. And in many countries, they come up with these futuristic and ambitious goals. But when you look at, okay, how are you going to support these goals? What are you going to deliver to stakeholders? So there is a big question mark there. But this is something which we need to think about first. So how are we going to turn these goals into realities? So performance culture, it shouldn't overshadow educational aims. So youth sports structures, they frequently replicate elite sport logic. They focus on competition, ranking, talent identification, and outcomes. But in our understanding, so the approach should be different. So we need to focus on agency, we need to focus on reflection, we need to focus on inclusion, rather than trying to rank them based on some numbers. Yeah. So the four, that's also fundamental for you, fragmented governance. So most of the time, we are ambitious to create these projects, but we need to cooperate with municipalities, with clubs, federations, NGOs. And this structure is fragmented. So they have their own desires, they have their own goals, and most of the time these goals are not aligned. That's also an important thing to consider. In order to be able to achieve successful outcomes, there should be a good alignment between different stakeholders contributing to these goals. So finally, operationalization. I mean, we highlight these aspects regarding meaningfulness, but how are we going to operationalize these, and how are we going to evaluate these? That's also important to consider. The policy practice gap is one of the biggest barriers, which is actually limiting the educational contribution of physical activity. So that's why it is important for us to recognize this gap. And in terms of creating a sustainable governance structure, there is a need for full alignment between these stakeholders, and how these goals, how these phases are going to be operationalized and also measured is critical for you to think about. Okay, I will sum up these suggestions in one of the upcoming slides. So what does a meaningfulness oriented system look like? That's the question. So it needs to be a purpose driven system. Okay, physical activity is not the end. It is in itself, right? So the purpose is educational. So we need to foster agency, confidence, well-being, collaboration, and we need to highlight lifelong engagement. So it's not an end which we are trying to achieve. It is the process itself. So second, we need to have a mindset. We need to create a system which has a people first mentality. So teachers, coaches, they are fundamental, important, of course. So they need time, they need training, they need autonomy, they need recognition, and their judgment must be trusted and supported through communities of practice also. So if they tell you to do something without giving you the resources to do it, then you cannot do it. And you are the ones who knows the structure. You are the ones who actually experience the realities. So that's why your voice needs to be heard. So that's also an important aspect of a efficient system. So pedagogy is another fundamental term which we need to highlight. So pedagogy needs to become a central strategic level. So it shouldn't be a technical detail. And again, it needs to align with the meaningful physical education principles within the stakeholders which I have highlighted. So partnerships, that's fundamental. And I don't know if we have some listeners today which have listened what I talked about when I was there last year in person. It was about partnerships. Partnerships are fundamental. So we need to cooperate with clubs, municipalities, federations, and NGOs, also different community actors, to influence young people's physical activity experiences. And actually, all these different actors, they need to align in terms of values, practices, and opportunities. This is essential for building a coherent learning ecosystem. Yeah. And finally, public value. That is also what we are trying to achieve. I mean, there should be public value clearly evaluated, and it needs to be an accountable one. Yeah, systems that only measure participation and performance cannot create meaningfulness. So they need to actually embed indicators and monitor different kind of aspects such as agency, enjoyment, belonging, confidence, and learning. So this is how we can actually make our system meaningful. I mean, these are the things which we need to prioritize in order to achieve these desired goals. Okay. Moving on to the last two sections of my presentation. So this is something which I tried to create using Mark Moore's strategic triangle. Public value, the top at the top. So what value are we trying to create? This needs to be clearly defined. I don't know. I don't know what kind of values you are trying to create. It depends on the context. So it can be regarding the physical literacy. It can be something about sustainability competences, leadership, life skills. But it needs to be clearly defined. Second, the legitimacy and support. Who must believe in this? Who are going to contribute to that? Students and their lived experiences, parents, communities, school leaders, sport organizations, policymakers, funders, teachers, coaches. Who is contributing to this system, and what type of legitimacy they have? That is also a fundamental question which we need to highlight. And again, the third question which we need to think about is operational. Can the system actually deliver? So having all these different stakeholders together, can they create meaningful experiences consistently? Can they increase the capacity, including professional development, time, pedagogical tools, cross-sector partnerships, supportive leadership? Are there some kind of mechanisms for reflection and assessments? So without operational capacity, meaningfulness will remain as an aspiration rather than a systems reality. Okay. So I'm going to speak shortly about the system shifts for meaningfulness. So we need to make some shifts in order to create these meaningful experiences. So first of all, there needs to be a shift from participation to experience. So most systems measure and reward participation, but participation is not learning. It tells us nothing about agency, relevance, enjoyment, and confidence. So we need to create systems which needs to shift toward evaluating the quality of experience, not the quantity of attendance. So that is the first thing which we need to make a change. And then the shift from delivery to learning is not about set of drills, curriculum, and training program only. So this shift requires recognizing that physical education is not merely a service delivered to young people, but it's a learning space constructed with them. Yeah, so they need to be also fundamentally they need to contribute to this systems development. And the third shift which we need to make is from fragmentation to coherence. I highlighted the different types of organizations. So they need to become one. They need to come together. They need to share values. They need to align their expectations, and they need to speak a common language. And they need to have a sustained vision. So these shifts are fundamental. They actually represent a fundamental reorientation in how we understand the purpose and the potential of physical education. And this is also something highlighted in the SDG 4 clearly. Yeah. So, and I like to tell you something about my path, my personal experiences. So I worked in quite different structures. I worked in Turkey. I'm living in Netherlands. I'm working right now. So I'm trying to contribute to you. So I worked in Finland. Again, through Tennis Europe, I deal with a lot of different cultures. So we need to realize that policy does not guarantee meaningful experiences. So that's the first thing which we need to think about. Yeah. So and then the second thing which we need to highlight, which we need to think about is we need to see people. So young people, they need to see, they need to be seen, they need to contribute to the systems development. And this is something which I highlighted previously. Which I highlighted previously in the previous slides. So I'm working in this Erasmus Plus project, where I contribute with the Dutch Volleyball Federation. So they gave the space to young leaders, and they are the players. So they are the players. They are actually the volleyball players contributing to the systems development. And what we see there is, if we give them some kind of space, if we give them some kind of responsibility, they can deliver more. If we hear their voice, they are more motivated to contribute, and actually they are making meaningful contributions to the system. And the last thing, the next thing which I like to highlight is meaningfulness always emerges from context. So there isn't universal formula for meaningful physical activity. There are principles which must be interpreted and adapted to local realities. So this is something important for you. You are living in a very big country with differences. So you need to highlight these differences. You need to actually acknowledge them, and you need to come up with solutions designed accordingly, right? And the last point here, which I like to highlight, is education will requires coherence across the environments that shape a young person's life. Yeah. So young people thrive when values promoted in school are reinforced in sport clubs, municipalities, family context. So there should be an alignment. If you highlight something and they see something else in another context, they're going to question this. So they're going to think about, okay, what is it going to bring? What is it going to contribute to my development? So that's why, so you need to have a clear coherence. Fragmentation is something which you need to avoid of. So this is also, again, a personal takeaway from my path. Do I have a couple more minutes, Ubat?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Okay, because I like to highlight a couple last things, a
Sure.
practical scheme, how we can transform all these things which I try to highlight into an implementation plan. All right. So here, first of all, define meaningfulness as a system outcome. So this means writing it into policy objectives, integrating it into curriculum documents, and ensuring that stakeholders such as school leaders, teachers, they understand what meaningfulness is, and actually they highlight this as a fundamental term in quality education. All right. So then you need to build educator capacity through communities of practice. So here actually what I'm trying to say is, rather than one-off workshops or some kind of systems which touch only once in a year to these stakeholders, try to transform them into structures which can build capability in a sustainable, low cost, and relational way. So what you need to think about is, how am I going to embed this understanding into an ongoing system, into an ongoing structure? So this is something important for you to think about. So the third thing is redesign assessment to include experience, not just activity. Do not only measure participation numbers, fitness metrics, skills demonstrations. So you need to highlight student voice. You need to highlight enjoyment, agency, sense of competence, social connection, reflection. So, and these, they do not actually require high-tech solutions. So simply, you can create some type of self-rating scales, reflective prompts, and as a result of these tools, you can actually measure these aspects. So the fourth thing which I like to highlight is align with school, sport, and municipal actors around shared values. Align the physical education curricula with youth programs, youth sport programs, local sport policies, community initiatives, and you need to have shared values. How can you do that? Through joint sessions, shared terminology, common vision statements, cross-sector working groups, co-developed small projects. So start with small projects and then actually pilot them. So this is the last point. Pilot them and scale them into bigger programs, right? Start small. Start with some motivated schools. Start with some innovative teachers, local municipalities. Consider, rather than trying to create something big, try to specify some thematic areas and then actually try to make these pilot projects visible, documented, evaluated, and then scaled. So you need to share the outcomes of these projects. Which brings us to my last slide. So assessment and measurement is critical. So assessment actually shapes priorities, practices, and behaviors. And you need to think about how you are going to get feedback from students, how you can make their voice hearable, how you can make their experiences visible. So that is something important for you to think about. This can be done through surveys, exit prompts. You need to allow students to express themselves. And then the second point is self-assessment of competence and confidence. So you actually can include these tools to encourage students to recognize their own progress. So they need to highlight their progress. they need to understand their capabilities. They need to articulate their challenges. Because this is basically what creates meaningful learning. Yeah. So then create reflection tools. This can be something basic. Yeah. So what I learned today prompts. So ask them and encourage them to highlight their inputs through short journals, verbal reflections, paired discussions. So there are different types of tools which you can use. Again, the fourth point is here indicators of social and emotional learning. So we are not only focusing on physical aspects, but also social and emotional aspects. This is also fundamental for quality education. And finally, create dashboards. Yeah. So at the governance level, these stakeholders, what I have highlighted, schools, municipalities, they need to have some type of an access to dashboards, which shows the student enjoyment, sense of belonging, perceived competence, and opportunities. So, because this is going to give them some kind of clear idea about what's going on, how they can improve their policies, their structures. So, this actually concludes my presentation. To sum up, one more minute, Ubat, if you allow me.
Sure.
Yeah. So if actually young people experience relevance, agency, competence, belonging, and enjoyment, something crucial happens. So it becomes something intrinsically motivated. It has the potential to engage them over the long term. It can help to develop physical literacy. So they learn about themselves, others, and society, and actually they can carry these capabilities to the different spots of their lives. Yeah. So, but meaningfulness does not emerge by accident. It requires some systems which articulate the purpose beyond participation, supports the people who create learning environments, design processes that enable relevance and reflection, and also build coherence across schools, communities, and sports systems. So when these elements align, meaningfulness becomes more than a pedagogical aspiration. It becomes a governance outcome, a design principle that can guide policy, curriculum, assessment, and also professional practice. This concludes my presentation, and maybe my final reflection, Ubat, is the future of physical education will belong to the systems that design not just for activity but for meaning. Yeah. So for the experiences that can help young people feel connected, capable, and also purposeful in their movement and in their life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a big round of applause for such a fruitful presentation. To be honest, Cem, it left me speechless. I mean, all the 47-minute parts of the presentation. But what really caught my attention was the fact that you opened up the presentation with the quote-unquote negativity, the negative sides. It kind of gave us this shock therapy to like follow through. And it worked, because I followed through everything, and then you broke down all this meaningfulness from like multiple perspectives. It really showcased the mature experiences of you being over 20, 25 years within the sport context, and also from multiple lenses as you've actually been actively involved here and there. And then you also concluded how meaningfulness can be brought in physical education really, really, really beautifully. Well, and there's a lot to unpack, but allow me to invite questions from the audience first. There are actually two ways of asking questions to you. The first one is for them to have direct interaction through the raise hand feature. And the second one is through the comment box, the chat box question. We have one person raising hand, which is Balkis. Committee, would you please help us to? Yes. Yeah, Balkis, please.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Siti Zakiatul Balkis, and I'm from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My question is quite simple, actually. So, As a student, what initial step can we take to develop a meaningfulness mindset approach before we begin teaching in the real classroom? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it's a very practical and actually relevant question. As you remember, throughout my presentation, I highlighted the importance of capabilities and resources, which is fundamental for the delivery of any kind of goal. Yeah. So you are going to become maybe a tiny particle within this system, but your contribution is fundamental. So basically, you are going to be one of the people who is going to talk to these students, who is going to actually implement these policies and structures into reality. Yeah. So that's why it is important for you to figure it out how you see yourself contributing to this structure. So I think a starting point for you might be to identify your personal priorities. So, I mean, what are your personal goals? So what am I going to achieve? Yeah. And then I think you need to come up with some kind of 5, 10, 20-year planning. Yeah. Of course, long-term planning is something, especially in our, dynamic world, is something which might be not achievable, but you need to know exactly where you like to go. And then if you make this definition, you need to think about, okay, what type of resources you need. So what are the resources which are going to help you to move on and implement these systems and strategies at first hand. Yeah. So, and I am pretty sure that you have some kind of practical experiences throughout your education also. You do a lot within the school setting, you do a lot within the club setting, and you are the first contact point. Okay. So you see what's going on there. You see if there is some kind of ambitious curricula, you are the first person to say something about it. So if it is something applicable, so what are the challenges, limitations? So what works, what does not work? Try to raise your voice because your voice matters. All right. So, and again, in order to be able to do that, you need to take initiative. So this is something I did in the past. So, I was dealing with, I mean, I wasn't someone active in physical education. So I was trying to do things in event management mainly. But then I thought, okay, how am I going to raise my voice? So I am someone who is experiencing it in first hand, but how can I contribute to the system? Which gave me the boost. Yeah. And as a result of that, I started to make proper steps. And I think my suggestion to you and to all our listeners would be the same. So you need to think about where you like to go, okay? And what can give you the boost. So what might be the first step for you to proceed, to excel? So what are the resources you need in order to be able to make this move? So identify those and try to access and then proceed. So it's going to take time. It's going to be a challenging journey. My journey is a challenging one. So honestly, I don't know. I mean, it has been already 25 years within this industry. Still, every day is a challenge for me, but I like it. So I like to deal with this challenge. And your life is going to be about, dealing with this challenge. Okay. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Balkis, and thank you, Chem. You
Yeah.
are such a humble scholar. I mean, over the 25
mean,
years experience of that, you still say those kinds of things. Thank you for that. The
Thank you.
second question comes from the from the comment box. It comes
Yeah.
from Rolius Telambanua. He'd like to address a question. In many countries, physical education is still dominated by a culture of competition, quantitative assessment, and performance demands. Therefore, what concrete operational strategies like curriculum, assessment, etc., can prevent meaningful physical education from becoming too abstract and impractical? Furthermore, what evidence best convinces policymakers that meaningful experiences should be given equal weight to physical achievement in physical education quality indicators, and how can this evidence be most effectively communicated to generate concrete policies and funding? I know answer
Long
to
question.
this kind of question requires like 24 hours, but could you please simplify like the answer to this
Yeah,
complex question?
I'll do my best, but because in 5 minutes I have a meeting with the ITF, so which I cannot.
Oh, okay. All right.
Also, I mean, I would love to stay with you and speak for hours, but I also know that it's scheduled for an hour, so I will use the next couple minutes to highlight that. So I mean, this is exactly how I actually concluded my presentation. So what the question highlights is a fundamental problem. So, I mean, we need to think about the experience of young people. Yeah. So we need to focus on relevance. Yes, competence and competition should be also there. I don't say, and I don't think that we should get rid of them, because these are the fundamental values of sport. Any type of sport activity, yeah, there is some kind of competition in it.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not competing with an opponent, but you are competing with yourself. You are competing with the nature, again at different levels. So the competition does not mean the same thing for everyone. But basically, so in order to be able to make this shift, so we need to develop the physical literacy aspect. Okay, so in order to be able to do that, we need to focus on experience. We need to focus on relevance. We need to focus on belonging and enjoyment. Yeah, because if we highlight those values, then people start to become intrinsically motivated. Maybe this is something we know, maybe this is something we highlight, but this isn't, most of the time, this isn't something which the policy creators, the decision makers highlight. So, and it's also partially, it's also our responsibility to make this shift. Yeah. So, I mean, within my role, as a board member of Tennis Europe, I try to highlight the importance of sustainability. Yeah. So that was something which I tried to do, couple years ago, 5 years ago. First thing I seen was resistance. So they questioned, is this something which our organization needs to prioritize? Yeah. Do we have enough resources to highlight this? So, and then step by step, I try to convince them. And this is also what you need to do. Yeah. So in order to be able to make this shift from competition and numbers and performance orientation through experience, through something which is meaningful, so you need to highlight that. Yeah. So, but again, we are tiny particles of a very big system. So most of the time we have limited voice, but it's our responsibility and also it's our challenge to think about how we can make our voice higher, how we can convince people, the decision makers, the policy makers, to follow our path. Again, this isn't an easy thing to deal with. It will take ages. It will take a lot of time. But still, this is something achievable. But we need to have a clear planning for that. And as I said, there should be some kind of coherence and alignment between different stakeholders, because only as the university you cannot make this change. Only as a club, only as a school, you cannot make this change. All these different stakeholders, they need to come together and they need to cooperate. Okay, they are texting me from the other meeting,
All
but
right. Okay. Yeah, there are actually some more questions, but I know that you have
I
to
mean,
like be in
please,
another meeting.
let them send me an email. So I am pretty sure Anira or Nisa shared my email with our participants. Feel free to
Yeah.
approach me. So I have a LinkedIn. You can approach me on LinkedIn also. I hope to be back at some point in
Thank
Indonesia. So I hope that I'll be able to see you again face to face. But
Okay.
thank you very much again for this wonderful opportunity. So I appreciate for
Thank you. Thank you for your amazingness. It's such an honor for me to moderate you. And whenever you come to Sydney, please reach me out.
I will.
I'll be here throughout the year. I'll be here until like 2028, I think. So thank you so much once
Without
again,
you
everybody.
knowing Indonesia, but so I need you there.
Okay. All right, everybody. Once again, let's give a big round of applause. So, Chem, I know that you have another meeting to attend. So, if you want to leave, you may leave. Thank you so much
Okay.
once again for such a
Thank you very
beautiful
much,
insight.
and I wish you the best for the rest of the day, and hoping to see you again. Huh?
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, the presentation and Q&A session with Chemtinas marks the end of today's first session of the plenary session. It's time for me, your moderator, Obad, to sign off, and I'd like to hand it over back to the MC, Ibu Wulan.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Ubad, and thank you to our excellent speakers and moderator. And dear ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of our event today. But before we close this section, I would like to announce some information. The first one is the link for attendance will be shared in the chat box. And the second one, tomorrow we will still have one more keynote speaker, and we will begin at 8 a.m. in the morning. And then after that, we will have a parallel session at 9:30. And the last, we will have announcement of best presenter right after the tomorrow's event. So please attend tomorrow's event until the end. And dear ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our today's session. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend our gratitude to all speakers and participants for the contribution and participation in today's event, and sincere apologize for any inconvenience that might occur during this event. And see you again tomorrow. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Assalamualaikum
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The attendance link has been shared in the chat box, ladies and gentlemen, and Ibu Bapak, if you want to leave the room, you may leave the room for now. Thank you.